I thought we would start with the "You Got This" cards.
Oh, cool. I go with the flow. I go with the I'm sorry if my English is not good all the time because I'm speaking mostly other languages now, which is great. I fluctuate a lot between English, Spanish, and German. And then, of course, I'm in the process of learning Hungarian, which is it's a different ballgame.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and but my son speaks Hungarian fluently. It's insane.
Yeah. It's so important to embrace all of our languages in the world. They're so beautiful. I remember speaking to a guest of mine, Jenny Moses. She's an MFL teacher, and she talks about, learning other languages is really about an appreciation of a culture.
Of course, you don't understand the culture until you don't speak the language. I always been a firm believer of that, and then they very important. But career and this line of work kind of opens you doors as well.
Exactly. We're going to get onto your line of work very shortly. Let me shuffle the cards, and then when you're ready, you're just going to tell me to stop, and I'm going to take the top card.
Stop.
Go for it. I love it. Okay. So the card that's come up for you is aspire to inspire.
Ha! Funny enough, we had that conversation yesterday with a colleague because of our last project.
Did you? Tell me about it.
Because we're working on a project for the company now, beside the ones that we have, based on women's rights and children's rights, obviously touching the topic of domestic abuse and domestic violence and how the system put the victims in a very critical position, that kind of direction. So, and how can we educate the public or women in general or where they go? Because most of the time they don't even realize what they're going through. And they don't realize what the options are, and they don't realize where to help.
And I know that this is something that you've been very passionate about for a long time. And do you want to just tell our listeners your sort of journey so far? Because you and I met at university, and my goodness, you have done some incredible things since then. So, where did this love of performing and theatre and telling stories come from?
Ooh, I will have to say my mother is the one guilty of that. Because when I was young, as a child, actually my son's age, we went through a difficult period with my family, and I didn't speak too much. My mother is a psychologist, a clinical psychologist, obviously, and she decided to put me in arts. So I kind of, as a form of building, right? Instead of going directly to, besides obviously the typical going to psychologists and all that. And I think it was a blessing and a curse because I never left after that, if you know what I mean. So I fell in love with theater in the beginning. Then I fell in love with dance. And then I couldn't go back. Even though I started university to do pre-med, I ended up changing back to what I was used to.
Oh my goodness. So when we met at uni, obviously we were studying theatre and performance. And what are your memories of that time that we were together? Because I mean, there were so many incredible performances and so much learning that was going on there. How did that kind of propel you forward for the next step? Because then you went on to Central School, right? So how did those sort of initial that initial training then create the stepping stone to go on to other things?
Well, I mean, one thing that I had to give to the United Kingdom in general when they approach higher education is the variety of techniques and the variety of approach you have towards creative process and the practices research. And it's not just about the theoretical side of things. It's about it's like a game. It was playing with everything that you get, and then you started creating. You started it challenges you in a way that you kind of become always thinking outside of the box, especially for neurodivergent type of people. No one can understand them or understand what they're doing because the way the brain works is very different to the rest of the population. And the system or the educational system is created for one group of the population. So for me, it was like a playground. It opened the Pandora box, first of all,
Yeah.
because it's not just learning about the craft, it's well learning about yourself and seeing who you are and the things that you're able to work with and use as an artist, because we are all unique. One of the best thing I've learned from teaching dance, for example, and looking at dancers, although they have the same choreography, they are unique because we are all individuals. There's something that stands out that you can see something of that person, even if you're very technical, like I don't know, like Cunningham, but you can see that essence that is very different per dancer. And I think the UK higher education system, and when we were there, we kind of experimented and explored a lot, and created a bond as well between performers because we're all going through the same. We're learning. A lot of us were immigrants. Some of us were not. Was a culture pool that gave the stage to creating different things that you will never see if you stay on one particular line. Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It does make sense. And the thing is, as well, for you and your practice, is that you have not pigeonholed yourself. You have never taken that one road. You've always ensured that you've remained open to embodying the theatre, dance, music, singing, everything, because it is one practice, right? It's impossible to just separate yourself into those three art forms. So obviously, what was funny was that we ended up meeting again
Yeah, I know.
at Trinity Laban when we did our dance training. Like, I feel like we've been in each other's orbits for such a long time,
I
but,
know. It's
meeting you there again and that experience, wow. Talk to me
because
about
it was a different ball game. It was a different
completely.
world. It was like a completely different dynamic as well.
It was. What did you enjoy about Trinity Laban?
Well, it was of all my studies experiences, it was the hardest one because in my group I was one of the youngest at the time, and I have to say, as you get older, maturity changes, right?
Yes.
And I was not the most mature. I was really really young, 20 compared to the rest of the group. I was one of the youngest, and I remember one of the teachers taking me out and saying, "Sorry, how old are you?" Well, this is bad. And then she could understand the way I approached things at the time. Um, but Laban for me was the best gift I could get because it kind of changed the way I approach movement. It was not just dance. It was uh, how you say that in English. It was more than dance. It's the rhythm. It's the space. It's the body. It's not just. I mean, I can dance. I come from a culture that we're dancing since we're in the belly. Like we grew up dancing. I try to pass that on to my son, but he's refusing. But it's a choice. But it looking at movement and dance in a very different way. Like one of my biggest influences is being always Pina Bausch and BB-8, if you know what I'm talking about. And the way she saw bodies in space and human and dancer, and it was unique, right? So it kind of I didn't know that at the time. I went there just because I wanted to move to London. I remember. And then it was one of the best decisions I've ever made because then I specialized on that. And eventually I was called to work with the BAs of Royal Central School of Speech and Drama because of my movement directing skills by one of our old teachers and one of my very good friends, Karia Assels. I remember. We're still in contact. Like, she was supposed to went to Puerto Rico and everything. Like, we and then she gave me the chance to work with the BAs in Royal Center School of Speech and Drama for 4 years within her project as a movement director. And I remember asking her, why do you call me? I don't think you need me. She was like, no, 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 no. You have a personality that brings people to life. And I was like, okay. And eventually it was during COVID. It was all through Zoom. And a lot of them were very different backgrounds. So some of them were very difficult to engage. And, and eventually, I think specializing on lab made me understand myself as a choreographer and as a movement director. and it kind of allowed me to create my own language or understanding, which is which is part of the process. I mean, you can be a dancer, clinical, stay in the same line as everybody else, or you can challenge yourself and look at dance and look at the individual. For example, when I choreograph now or the movement directing, I understand the performer first,
Yes.
to then impose whatever I want and allow them to bring it out as their own. That's the approach I had. And of course, it helped with acting as well, because then I incorporated into acting. The travel efforts can help a lot. Choreotics can help a lot to kind of get to acting emotions that if you don't have an experience, they can connect with that emotion. At least physical repetition can get you to stimulate kind of that experience or kind of emotion. Like, getting tired. This kind of approach to acting as well, which is kind of helps a lot to look at different options, not just stick with one.
It yeah, absolutely. And this idea of collaboration, like you are working in collaboration with that dancer or the actor in front of you, the performer in front of you. And also what I'm hearing is really listening. So that intuitive approach is what I'm hearing when you're talking about that. And all of the training that you've done, you've said it a number of times, it's shaped who you are as an artist, but also as a human being, as a mother, as a friend.
Of course, because one of the best thing about all of this is you're gonna go through life and there are gonna be situations and how do you react? One of the things that I learned in my 42 years of life is that sometimes when I move away from that essence of myself and I allow myself to be in close, how you say that, who I'm supposed to be or how I'm supposed to approach things, I don't function properly. And then I have to go back, funny enough, to my practice to understand me as an individual, to be able to grasp myself and bring myself back in. It might take me years, it might take me months, depends on the situation, but it's something that allows you to start over again, because in life you have to start over many times, obviously. I'm getting philosophical here because I'm very much into that kind of stuff.
Me too.
And so you kind of get lost because you stop recognizing who you are. You kind of get lost because you stop seeing yourself as who you really are. And practice like this kind of enables me as Ariana, as an individual, to grasp who I am and bring myself back and bring myself to understand what's the next step. How can I do feel guilty of the fact that I use art as a form of healing as well, as a form of reinventing, as a form of expressing my pain or my happiness, because it's not all everything bad or good. So yeah, I think it's very important, and that's why probably I approach choreography as looking at the individual, and then we look at the choreography itself.
So you're teaching at the moment. So what age are the students that you're working with? Are they, is it higher education or
Well,
in
it's very
schools?
interesting because here in Hungary there's this university which is I'm gonna try to say it in English, the Film and Art, and they invite me sometimes to teach there, which is higher education. One of the fully proper Caribbean person teach in that environment. As well, I teach with a school called Drama Works, which I deal with teenagers and adults. So I do plus doing my own practice, obviously, which I reconnected with that movement and everything back here on my own body and other bodies as well. So I'm in the process of reconnecting with that again. And through the company, obviously, because we have a couple of ideas as just there's some part of it as well with movement, because I cannot, the moment I stop dancing, I realize I go depressed. It's something that is in my culture, it's something that is in my body, and I feel lost. So that is a very, for myself as a practitioner and as a human being, is part of becoming me, expressing myself, live happiness and live sadness.
lots of things have happened in a short space of time for me and for my family. And I found that I would go to a dance class, and it was like the pain, the suffering, the grief would just
Go
you would
away.
process and it would go away. And there's something about seeing yourself in a mirror when you're dancing. Those people who are listening, if you go to dance classes, you'll know that there is often a mirror in the room, and there's something about watching your body move in the space. There's something very special about it, and dancing with other people as well.
Yes, because I always see dance as a form of energy. Anyway, in the space, the bodies are energy. Everything is energy in the space. And there are days, for example, when I will wake up and I would just put, at the time I'm a little bit obsessed with the house as a Puerto Rican to see and sing. Now that I like, he's not the best singer in the planet, but the concept itself of bringing my culture in mainstream, I have to put that on in the morning, and it changed my mood immediately. And that's it, what I'm doing the breakfast. It's kind of changes my mood. And all of a sudden, I'm happy to go out and do whatever I have to confront in the day. It's it's something about that, and going out with friends and just dancing and let it go, lose yourself. Creativity, you kind of start inventing steps in the spot, and it's all about just being free and being yourself. The moment I, as a Puerto Rican Dominican, and as a woman, and as I stop canceling or controlling that I cannot dance that way or I cannot do this, it kind of blocks my whole system, my energy. It blocks who I am. So the same happened with contemporary. If I'm feeling sad and I'm with a friend, and it's because I have a lot of creative friends in Czech Republic. When I was there for a week, we were doing that. She's an actress. She just start recording and she start dancing, putting a song, and we make a scene or whatever out of the blue. Just because we just need to let it out.
Yes, absolutely, because we're alive.
Yeah.
Because we are alive, and we can move our body, and it does heal, and it does connect us with ourselves. And you've not just worked in dance, but you've also moved into film as well. And I've been stalking you, obviously with admiration, for a number of years. But I did see on Facebook, I think it was maybe last month, that you were nominated for, was it lead actress?
Oh, that was a repost, but it was
Oh, it was a
this is
repost.
how I got into film. You brought the right line, actually.
Okay.
I, I I had a project because I'm very much drawn to social issues, and I'm very much drawn to kind of educate in the process that I create. I had a project about working with kids that come from because in Latin America we have a very very strong pandilla. Let me see, children gang situation going on because poor countries. There's a lot of so I kind of approached the director of one film called Flor de Azúcar, or Sugarcane Field, presenting him that project. Right, he has my same surname, so that was very funny as well. And then he saw me and decided to say, he said to me, "Can I audition you for a film?" And I was like, "Sure." 2 months later, I was going back to the Dominican Republic. I got the role, and then after that, it kind of opened a different possibility for me. And then I managed to produce films and managed to create projects. And then, so it was all by accident in a way when I came into film. I always used to do like little stuff on the side, but it was not like my priority. I was really focused on theater and dance at the time. But I just wanted to do this project because as a mother at the time, I saw to myself, look at how privileged my son is. Look at the kids in my country, especially Dominican Republic. Puerto Rico is not that bad. As a U.S. colony, we get a different approach to this kind of environment. But eventually, we managed to get everything together with co-productions and collaborations. And that's how I ended up then producing, again, by accident. I just wanted to throw a message out there, you know? And it opened many doors as well.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? It's like you're not going into that creative work. It's not driven by ego, actually. It's driven by this deep seated need to make things better, to improve a situation, to inform, to support, to advocate a message.
To leave a legacy of some sort that my son and my grandchildren will be happy about. And I never answered you the question about the award. Eventually, the film came out. It was sent to represent the country for the Oscars. It made it to the list or whatever it was. And then I got several nominations for that role in particular. Then they opened me the door for other films, and then I got nominated. Then I won an award. So it's, one thing was taking me to the next step accidentally.
Yeah. But this
Yeah.
is it, taking the road less traveled, being open to those opportunities. What was the award that you won then? What were the various
I
awards
did
that you won?
another project called The Original, which was a sci-fi. Uh, and it was by a Mexican director that now she's huge because she did Huesera. I don't remember her name anymore, but I will remember now at some point. And Cerve, yeah, her surname is Cervera, and that particular role, I was very outside of the box. Next to was sci-fi, and I was a lesbian, and it was about how you dispose trying to get cure, and it was a beautiful project. And then because of my role in that, I barely spoke, by the way. I got several. Yeah, I won several about award and several nominations as well because it was really out of the side of the box as well. It was something that I never really thought I would do.
Mm. And I love the fact that you
Michelle
know,
Cervera. Sorry, I remember the name.
there we go. It's funny because I am currently casting the year 6 show and the children badger me every year. Well, how many lines does that person have? How many lines does that character have? And I always say to them, listen, you can steal the show with no lines.
Let me tell you, my best roles barely had any lines, and my best roles as well are the ones they are not the lead ones. Yeah, because sometimes people get so stuck. I need the lead. I need the lead. I need, but how you say that in English? The one that is the counter of the lead sometimes is even better, or not performance or role is even better. So you have this kind of wrong idea that the lead is the winning one. No, sometimes it's not. It won't challenge you sometimes as much as the demon or as much as the sporting role. Sometimes, you know, it varies. So I'm not really, yeah. And I understand because I teach teenagers as well, and they think they getting the lead role is like the winning game. And I said, and it's not.
I'm going to play that little clip to my year 6 students to remind them that, this is coming from somebody who works in industry and they are saying, listen, you don't have to be the lead role because actually when I'm putting you in those roles, those characters, I am seeing something in you that can bring the character to life. It's going to stretch you. You're out of your comfort zone. There's lots of lessons to be learned when taking part in the theatre.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Of course. And and sometimes those characters are more versatile as well. It demands more. And it gives you a range of the probably the main character won't.
So where are you thinking of going now with your work? Obviously, you're over in Hungary. Are you thinking of maybe staying in education for now and moving, like working across sort of performing and teaching, or is teaching now where your heart is, do you think?
I mean, I always loved teaching because my aunt is a professor at the university in Dominican Republic. It's my dad taught when he was in the Dominican Republic as well. So there's this line of teaching which I really enjoy because I always look at it that I'm shaping the next generation in a way, and I am helping the next generation to find themselves as performers. But I love producing as well, and I love acting as well. So I am doing. I'm trying to get the three of them working at the same time. Hopefully by summer. because when you move country, you have to they need to get to know you. They need to you need to speak where they nobody knew you probably where you were there. But I think lucky enough they now they know me because of the approach and the works I've done. But um but yeah, no, I enjoy producing because it gives me the freedom of telling the story that I want to tell. It gives me the freedom of getting the direction that I want to go together with other people, obviously as a collaboration, but it opens me the door to express myself, to create. I always been fond that art should go together. I mean, art as a form should go together with education because if we would invest more in art and in sports, we wouldn't have so much madness and bad and criminality in the world within the younger generation. Especially, we can open the door for them to express themselves. We can open the door for them to get out of where they are. But unfortunately, governments don't see that.
No. Well, I was going to say, what changes, whether in policy or public awareness or the support system, that we have, certainly in the UK. I mean, I know you're elsewhere now, but what do you want to see changing, Ariana, as we move forward? I mean, you've talked about art being at the heart of education. What can we do? What can my listeners do to support and advocate for, systemic change, really? That's what we're talking about here.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I learned in life about art is not just it's a form of expression, it's a form of education, it's as well a form of creating more empathic humans, right? Because you are forced to step into someone else's shoes, right? You're forced to see someone else's story. So um, if if governments in general would understand that it's a complex one, obviously, that by bringing sports and art as a center sometimes of education will open the door for different people approach to learning. Second of all, it will open the door to create more complete human beings, and it will help people express themselves more, and it will help society as a whole, right? Because it will reshape society. It will reshape society in a way that they become. I mean, being selfish is okay because we have to be selfish. If I'm not selfish, people will work all over me. It has happened in the past, but as a community, it will bring more of a community feel, and opens communication that may not be easy to talk about directly. That's my opinion. And it's funny because I was contacted by UK ONG because they want to do something like that in Littleton in schools in London, and about how art can reshape how we see environmental issues, for example, how we see human crisis, existential crisis, and stuff like that. And I think there are people out there that's trying to bring that change, but it's very difficult because without the government support as a whole, and even the public education, because if if the public thinks that art is useless, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of money as well. So you have this thing where you have the government and you have to educate the public as well. How do you do that?
Mm.
But I think it's challenging, but I think countries like the UK is a little bit more forward than other countries in that department. Like Dominican Republic, it's not us forward in that department. And I would say here neither that forward in that department. But it is an option, I think. And certain countries are actually taking it seriously a little bit, but it will depend really on the country itself. But I think the UK um is a very vast cultural wise. And there is a glimpse of light, I always say, in countries like, .
And I will just draw on something here that artists are hopeful.
Yes, we're dreamers. We
We are
believe.
dreamers. We hope.
Fortunately, we do. Yeah.
We might be idealistic, but actually, I want more of that right now. I need the world needs us to remain human, with everything that's going on in the world, technological advances, goodness gracious me. I mean, connection and community and empathy, all of those things that you've talked about, they those things are nurtured at home for sure. But if they are not nurtured at home, then my God, they need to be nurtured in schools. And I absolutely agree with you. And there'll be a lot of people that will agree that are listening that art and dance and drama and music and DT and media and film and all of those amazing things that make us human, they've been stripped out.
Yes, funny enough, one of my parties, we were actually touching the topic that the family is the first institution, right? And if the first institution is a little bit broken, the next institution that should work with the first institution is education, right? The education system. But if both of them are broken in a way, how do you gonna have functional human beings coming out? You know? So it is a very tricky one because I've seen very passionate teachers trying to make it different, but that's one person like as a whole system. How do you make that work? And how do you make work as well? How do you educate the first institution, which is the family? If people refuses to, as the first institution, family or the surrounding of the child, to grow, to make changes, to understand that maybe if you want to break this generational um, pattern, how can that's very important as well for a functional adult to come out. That's why we have so many unfunctional adults out there with some level of mental health, with some because their base is not strong enough either. So and depends on the culture as well. There's culture where they demonize growth, they demonize psychologists. I can tell you that because I'm here it's a little bit like that. And and how do you say that? You can see it on the adults, you know? You can see it on the way they behave as cultures as well. Coming from a culture like Puerto Rico, for example, which is Americanized, let's go like this, right? Because it's not really the case, but people like to say that. Mental health is really important. In my case, I come from a family where two psychologists are there, which is my aunt and my mother. And how do you say that? Although by culture we are very community driven. I was having that conversation yesterday with a Hungarian guy. Actually, he's 20 years old, and the first thing he said, "Oh, I love Latin culture." I'm like, "Why?" First, he was listening to Latin music, and it caught my attention, and he goes, "Because of the community sense that you guys have, which we do, but that is based on, for example, for Puerto Ricans, it's based on the history. They have to stand together, I guess, the empire, no? So create a sense of community. Slavery, they had to create a sense of community to survive, And while other cultures is different. And I thought it was very funny because I can see here, for example, how generations are changing. The younger generation is more conscious of certain things.
I've always wanted to do an intergenerational project where I bring sort of babies, young, toddlers, under 5-year-olds with older generation. Like my grandma's 94, for example. I would love to do something where we just, because so
Let me
much to
tell
love.
you, my grandfather from my mother's side died of 107. My grandmother died last year of 99, 100 almost. And then my grandfather is still alive and 102. I think is I would say the culture has a lot to do with it, the way they live life. I mean, in Europe, people are so stressed out all the time. I have to battle that because it gets into the system. They only complain. And I realized at a point I became one. And I'm like, no, we are like, it's going to be fine. Yes, this is bad, but it's going to be fine. You still want the grace of dealing with life in a positive manner. Although people said, oh, you're a dreamer. That's not going to happen. They can try to break you down, and that's why you have to grasp your essence more than ever,
I couldn't agree more. I'm quite happy being a
You know
dreamer.
what? For a while I thought it was the scene. For a while in the past few years, but then I realized without a dream you die. Your soul dies. I mean, I'm not talking about getting a house and no, I mean dreaming about getting something, becoming something, and leaving something behind. I was joking the other day that I know my great grandchildren will see my movie at a point because in the Dominican Republic, it's one of those movies that are very much because of the scenography, the no, the not scenography. Oh my God, the DOP, the cinematography, and because of the topic as well. Everybody will see it at a point. Things like that are important. So they will see generation after generation things like that. And if we don't educate, I mean, children. I always say children learn bad behavior. They're not born with it, and that's why those two institutions are so important. Racism is not built into you. It's not coming with you. It's still there to you.
It's built into it. Yeah, I completely agree. And for those of you who are listening, I'm going to put a link in the show notes to all of Ariana's work, the films, anything that you have, Ariana, that you want to share with our listeners, any links, please do send them over to me and I'll pop them in the show notes because I would love for people to go and have a look. Um, it's so important to champion and to celebrate everything that you've achieved and continue to work on and develop.
Yes, my biggest achievement that I celebrate every day is my son, obviously, because you managed to create a human being that has his brain. Because let me tell you, that guy, oh never, always has an opinion in his way on the highway. But I am responsible to create a functional man, especially in a society where men are shaped to be a certain way and not to do certain things or not allowed to express things himself. And I went to therapy with him. The last therapy we went together, the therapist said to me, "My God," because I thought something was wrong, and like I developed an attachment style that was not healthy at the time. And then she goes and says to me, "He used to get angry. He said, 'I need to go for a walk. I need to cool down.'" And I found that so rude. And she goes, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, now cool down. That's actually very intelligent." And he's only 13, right? Many adults will have better relationship if they will do that constantly. Then he comes back and then he talks to me. So as a mother, I realize I just want him to be a functional man, that women don't have to do things for him. He can do them himself. But he should be able to communicate as well. Emotions. But not everybody agree with that. But I'm trying to make a man like that because I've seen how the other side is not really good for society. So as women, yeah, we are not perfect either. We have our issues. So yeah, but yes, my biggest achievement besides work, I'm not gonna complain. But my biggest achievement is my kid.
Yeah. And it's as a boy mum as well. My little one is 5. Um,
At
oh,
this that
honestly,
age,
he's so smart and he's reading and he opens up to me usually at night, and he'll tell me, "Mummy, can I tell you something?" And I'll say, "Yeah." And then he'll offload and he says, "I feel better now, Mummy." And I said to him, you can always tell me anything, like it's a safe space. And, like you're right, they raising children is hard, but raising a boy, raising a man is hard work, especially if you want to get
yeah,
it right.
I don't know if I'm gonna get it right, right? But I think I have a responsibility as a woman to make other women in the future life a little bit easier. That doesn't mean that I will allow him women to walk all over him. That's a different story. But for me, on this, important for me to have a functional man. And instead of bringing more issues into the equation, I'll be gladly to say, I want his girlfriend said to me, "Oh God, you did a good job."
Yeah, I completely agree, and I'm with you on that, and I'm sure that he will, because you have the best intentions for him, and you're doing the work yourself as well. I mean, like, as you say, we all bring baggage to the table, and we have to take responsibility, and I think that's the key word, isn't it? It's responsibility. Be accountable for who you are and what you bring to the table, and I've always been really passionate on personal growth. So much of what we do, we don't tell the internet because, actually it's nothing to do with everybody. What we're doing behind the scenes is what counts, and then you show up as best you
Yes, of
can.
course. We only have one
Um,
life, and
yeah,
we have the responsibility to make that life better for ourselves and the people around us. But if I don't take care of myself, and I learned that as well, when you let go of yourself, you're being a bit irresponsible, because then um, you are projecting your baggage in other people. I've been in relationship where that happened to me, where they projected their baggage on me. They projected their view of of gender on me, and you end up believing that in a way, and it kind of breaks you down. But then it's how you recollect yourself if you do the work, because I'm responsible of that work. I'm responsible of the consequences of that work, or the non-work as well, because there are people who doesn't do the work, and there are consequences to that as well. So that's why I'm trying to pass on to my son as well. It might be hard, it might be someone might treat you badly, something might happen, but if you do the work within yourself, you will deal with it, and you're responsible for how you react to it as well. But you have to learn. Sometimes you make mistakes, right? And that's how you learn. So yeah, I had a conversation to him. Love is a very interesting word. It's a very interesting action as well, because more than a feeling is an action, right? And we had this conversation last week, and I wanted to see how he understands love. And he said, "Mom, I do believe in love. I do believe there's good people. I do." So I said to him, "Good, because they are good people."